Mm, 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 mm. After a few weeks, the arm is looking like it's back to where it was. My hand is still a little bit, gnarled, but the doctors tell me that's to be expected and will pass with time. So, without further ado, hi, I'm Matt Williams. You know that. And I'm back with another book review. And keeping to my promise to cover the Dune series in its entirety, I decided to talk to you about Children of Dune today. I'm also feeling a little inspired because I've been watching the Dune Prophecy series, and as I said before, not bad. It's really quite interesting, and I'm interested to see where they go with it. And still wary about where ultimately they're leading us there, if it's going to be to that abhorrent ending written by Kevin J. Anderson and Brian Herbert. But yes, that of course is part of my review of the Dune double trilogy. How ultimately it ended, but not by Frank Herbert himself. So, getting to that, this is book 3 in the double trilogy, and it is actually what's very interesting is that Frank Herbert, before he was even done writing Dune, he had full ideas for the sequel and the follow up to that, and he wrote them. And it was interesting to learn that there. Basically, the whole concept of Dune was something that he'd already arranged, and I think it was the publisher's idea to say, now break this up. Let's have Paul Muad'Dib as the guy who's achieving his vision, his Kwisatz Haderach status, and then let's have the second book where it's showing years later the aftermath of that and the jihad and so forth, and then the third book in which his children, picking up right pretty much from where they left off at the end, we see his children, who are now 9 years old or so in the story, and they are now the focal point here because, of course, they have a very very interesting choice before them, a very interesting destiny, a lot of baggage. And it's the story is really quite interesting. It's definitely one of my favorites of the series. And so, to give you a quick breakdown, Honorakis, Alia, Paul's sister, she is a full-grown adult now, and she and Duncan, the Gola of Duncan, they are paramours. They're lovers, but she's not the queen or what have you. In the absence of Paul, she's the regent, and her rule is starting to get shaky, and it's in danger of coming apart. And Duncan is there to help and protect her, but he sees the signs as well. And basically, yeah, she is tilting toward abomination, right? Which the Bene Gesserit sisters always warned about. If children are exposed to the water of life, the spice agony, while they're in utero, they will become preborn, in that they'll have full consciousness unlocked. They'll have their other memory, just like the sister who was taking the water of life itself, the the raw unprocessed spice water from the worm, and and yeah, they will have just this incredible burden on them from before they're even born. And yeah, the children are expected to go crazy and lose all control and just fall into complete madness. So yeah, the sisterhood calls that abomination because, of course, they are strictly against such things happening. But not only Alia, not only is she technically an abomination, the children are too. The only question is, yeah, can any of them keep it together? And we see that Alia is not. She is losing control of her other memory. The voices in her head become like just this terrible mess. And into that steps a unexpected character. In her mind, suddenly the voices begin to go quiet as one other memory personality is shouting them off and saying to them, leave her alone. And it's her grandpa, Baron Harkonnen. And in the Denis Villeneuve's movie adaptation, right? They show Paul at the end. Never mind. I don't want to give that spoiler away. Suffice it to say, yeah, they made some changes. In any case, in the book, Alia is the one who killed the Baron. She had been taken prisoner by the Emperor's Sardaukar forces, and she was being questioned and interrogated. And of course, she was only 4 years old at the time, but she was now extremely adept and could see through all the lies and stuff. And then, of course, Paul comes with the Fremen army. They blow up the shield wall and they're coming in, and the Baron grabs a hold of her because the Emperor now needs her as a hostage, but she stabs him with the Atreides Gom Jabbar, the poison needle, and he dies. So that enters into their conversation a little bit there, which is kind of funny. It's like, oh, hello, granddaughter. Remember me? Yes, I was writhing in agony on the ground last time. And but now he is presenting her with the option of, I can keep those voices away. All I'm asking is for a corner of your mind to listen, watch, and give helpful advice. And she starts listening to him because he is actually helping her. And she finds his philosophy to be ruthlessly pragmatic and amoral, but it is kind of making sense to her right now. She's faced with all kinds of upheaval and fears revolution on Arrakis, especially from the older Fremen, and so she accepts his help. And so you have now the separate thread here. Lady Jessica has returned to Arrakis. She left it uh, she left after Paul became Emperor Moadib, because, of course, she did not. This is another thing that they changed in the movie. She was not enthused, really, with what he was doing. He was embarking upon a path. It's very dangerous, and she knew, as well as he did, she could see it, that it would involve uh, jihad, basically. The Fremen, they would succeed and destroy the Sardaukar, defeat the Emperor, bring him to heel, and of course, yeah, Paul would become the emperor by marriage to Princess Erlan, and she's in the story too. Of course, she is basically the aunt and caretaker for the children, and so she understood, though, that yes, the Imperium, it's not going to accept you. Some people will rebel some worlds, and your Fremen, they think you're a god king. They will stop at nothing to do your bidding and to bring all worlds under your rule. And yeah, billions were killed, entire planets were depopulated, and yeah, and this had the effect also of wiping out other faiths because now you needed to follow the Zensuni way with Paul Muad'Dib as the savior figure. And anyway, that is still happening. The jihad is still on, although it's starting to fizzle out somewhat. And people from all over the universe now are flocking to Arrakis because, of course, they want to see the birthplace of Paul, and they want to experience visions. They want to have the spice. And this is where another character comes in, a strange old Fremen who is now in the capital, and this is part of Alia's worries here. He's stirring up trouble. He is calling out to all the people who are there, saying that they're idolaters and sinners, and that sand will cover this place and all of you. And he says a line that is very memorable because it spoke to me so much. He said he faulted the people there because he said the religion of Muad'Dib is not Muad'Dib, worshipping the prophet or messianic figure, worshipping them at the expense of the actual message, not listening to the lessons and trying to incorporate them. And I've heard other sort of versions of this. So I thought, yep, that's genius. And it is the problem with religion. It is the problem with people who are lazy, right? They'd rather obey and follow someone than actually take what they have to say and, use it to improve their own lives and work on themselves. So, anyway, when Lady Jessica comes, Yes, she's made aware of the preacher. She comes to see the children. She meets with her daughter, and Alia is very much bitter because she's like, "You abandoned me here, right? Paul and me were here. We were running things. You didn't have to be around for that. But when he died, I needed you, and you weren't there." Jessica is, of course, saying, "This planet killed the two men that I loved more than anything. I just couldn't be here. And of course, there's also suspicion on Jessica, and not just from Alia, but from the twins too, because they know that she's gone back to the Bene Gesserit way. After Paul died, she figured I'm done with, the whole prescience thing and the way it creates a trap. Right? You become trapped by the future that you foresee because whether seeing it makes it an inevitable thing, or because you understand there's no alternatives but to follow this course. Otherwise, things totally fly off the handle, get out of control. Yeah, she wanted none of that anymore, and so she's talking to the kids and deems that yeah, they're really smart and they're just kind of running laps around her. They know everything she's going to say, every test, everything, because they're preborn. They've got all those memories. And then, but she, after seeing Ganima and it not going well, she concludes that, yeah, Alia is losing it. She is now in abomination territory. And Duncan agrees. So he's keeping an eye on her while Jessica is also about trying to figure out what to do. Princess Erlan, who is still with the Bene Gesserit, she too is talking to her and trying to find a way to keep the twins safe, and really just what are we going to do if and when Alia finally breaks totally, and so forth. And meanwhile, over to Seleucia Secundus, the Emperor's old prison planet, where House Corno is now forced to live. Paul exiled them there. There is treachery brewing, where no, sorry, the Emperor, oh, Shaddam the Fourth, yes, he has now died, and his sister, Princess someone or other, don't quite recall her name, but she is brewing treachery on Seleucus Secundus, and it involves these two specially bred killer animals. They're somewhere between tigers and cougars, and they are very much, they've been cybernetically, genetically enhanced, and they intend to unleash these on Arrakis with very, very precise timing, right? This is a typical plan in the Dune universe where it's plans within plans, right? Wheels within wheels, working to catch somebody in a trap. And so, yes, obviously there's several steps to this, and the key to it is Farad'n, her son. Now she hopes that Farad'n will be, once the twins are dead, will be married to Alia, and then from there, basically, he will ascend and take the throne over, and the Atreides will be out, and House Cornwall will be back in, and that'll be all she wrote. And I'm seeing it here. Yes, Princess Wensicia. Princess Wensicia. Yeah. Anyway, so next we have a strange meeting between Prince Farad'n, who is notable in the story there because he's a smart guy. He has been aware of this for much of his life. Growing up, he understood that he was, quote, smarter or more sensitive and deeper, or deeper and more sensitive than those around him there. And I thought that's very wise. People who have deep feelings, are sensitive and empathetic and smart. They deal with this growing up. They realize I'm not the same as most of the people around me here, am I? um, I know a little about that too, having grown up being a sensitive kid. Anyway, they meet with the preacher, who is there disguising his presence, and he is speaking to them, and he's offering help. Interestingly enough, So they believe that, yeah, he's interested in overthrowing Alia, and he promises them the assistance of Duncan Idaho. So, yes, he apparently speaks for Duncan and himself. And, yes, and then fast forward, we go to Arrakis where Jessica's decided to stay for a while and help govern. And, of course, this is where a key element is brought up. While they are in uh, I'm not sure what you call it there when the open court. People come in to share their grievances and hear what the regent or whoever's in charge what they intend to do about it. So Lady Jessica is sitting there as an honored guest, but Alia is really not happy about it. And yes, it does seem like plots are afoot. And yes, one of the major problems that they're dealing with is the older Fremen are appealing to House Atreides because it's now clear that the ecological changes that are being instituted, for many, it's wonderful, and it is exactly what Liet Kynes, Dr. Pardo Kynes and Liet Kynes, it is exactly the vision they were preaching, right? And but now that it's happening, apparently, yeah, there's a lot of worry. Our ways are being forgotten. We are going soft. We become water fat, as the Fremen would say. And yeah, many people are walking around outside without still suits. There's now grass growing in lots of places where there was just sand dunes. Trees are starting to take root, and off-world organisms are starting to pop up. So this is having a very productive yet destructive effect on the landscape. And the Fremen of the Deep Desert are very, very worried because they also know that this will kill the worms. Shai Hulud is completely vulnerable to water. And yeah, part of the original plan was that, yeah, the deep, deep desert in the south would be like kept as a desert for Shai Hulud. But yeah, now that they're seeing this happen, they're very, very afraid. And Alia is dismissing them and denouncing them as just people who are kooks and basically are not loyal to their empire. And while this is happening, a poisonous dart is launched at Jessica, but she sees it coming, and with her Bene Gesserit reflexes, just moves out of the way fast enough for it to miss her completely. And she saw Alia made the hand gesture for it. She tried to have Lady Jessica killed. And she confronts her. They carry on. You know, the assassin is taken away and killed, and they're carrying on like nothing happened. Because, yeah, they nobody wants to tip their hand too soon. And then, yeah, Jessica begins to call out Alia and saying to her, if Shai Hulud dies, the spice, the production, it will just take a nosedive, and then what? And Alia says that, yes, we'll have a corner on the most precious resource ever. That, yeah, the spice will still come in at a trickle, and we'll control that. And everybody else will bow to us no matter what. And to which Lady Jessica says, we'll have a corner in hell. And says that, yes, she is here to try and help the people of the Deep Desert, the old Fremen ways. She remembers them from her time. And yeah, this is part of the reason why this becomes such a explosive topic there. It's because people in the sea, Reverend Mother Jessica, she's returned. She'll listen to us. And this leads to a complete brouhaha in the hall. The guards start fighting with people, and Alia's taken away. And the old Fremen, who had been addressing the grievances, he grabs hold of Jessica in the midst there because, yeah, he is aware that someone, most likely Alia, is there trying to kill her. And so Lady Jessica says to him, we who have no betrayal know how to stand back to back, something like that. Think of Fremen saying. And they escape. And her and Duncan is there to pick her up and say, we have to go. And he's taking her to Seleucus Secundus. And the reasons for this are not entirely clear to her at all. But yeah, Duncan says, well, we'll be safe there. And they are. I'll save that for another bit here. Meanwhile, the twins, Ganima and Leto the Second, they have they also escape into the desert now because they fear Ali is going to kill them, and that's where they sense the threat coming. That's when the tigers come in for the attack. They manage to kill them, and Leto says, though, this there's something much deeper going on here, and we need to get to the heart of it. Intend to go into the deep desert, and you need to go back because matters are afoot there, and in order to do this convincingly, you have to pretend I'm dead. So Ganima, using her Bene Gesserit discipline and her prowess and her spice enhanced abilities, she does that. She creates a false memory of Leto being dead, and then heads back to Arrakeen, just feeling naturally heartbroken, grief-stricken, and incredibly angry. And meanwhile, while Leto's in the desert, he gets abducted by a bunch of rogue Fremen, and they are, as it turns out, the cult of Jacurutu. And this is it's preambled a bit in the story. These rogue Fremen, they've been around for a very long time, and Jacurutu, their Sietch, it's spoken of in legends and mythological ways, right? Because nobody's really sure that it even exists, right? Or if this is just some metaphor that was created to scare children into being good. But yeah, it was rumored that at one time there was a group of Fremen who drank the blood of people they killed in order to survive, and they were parasitic to other tribes, other groups. And so, yeah, naturally, the others banded together to defeat them, and those of them that survived fled off into the deep desert, never to be heard from again. And now we see that, yes, they've been alive all this time, and they're trying to take advantage of Alia's instability and all the chaos that's going on there to exact their revenge. And they abduct Leto. And they knew to do this because Gurney Alec had infiltrated them. Gurney Alec is also still around. He infiltrated them to figure out what they were up to and what it all came down to, and also to seek out this preacher fellow because they had the feeling that, yeah, he's working with these guys. And the preacher is Paul. He wandered out into the desert at the end of book 2, blind, his eyes having just been destroyed by a stone burner atomic in book number 2. And so Leto now has the chance to reunite with him. And now the Jacurutu people, they're exposing Leto to spice in order to bring him in the hopes that he will turn into an abomination just like Sister and go mad. But instead, what happens? He begins to have all the visions, like his father did. The exposure to the spice does change him, and it unlocks all these doors in his mind and all these memories, and he sees what his father saw. He saw humanity's extinction at the end of a long, long road, and that there, of course, were many, 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 many scenarios in which this would happen, and one where it didn't. So, very Avengers Infinity War there, right? Doctor Strange? We got